Welcome to Cherry Hill Tuition, where incredible results are achieved. In this mathematics tutorial, I will cover some of the excellent processes used by Cherry Hill to achieve the highest grades. Let's get started. You will notice that the question numbers are not consecutive and do not start from 1. This is simply because the questions refer to the Cherry Hill specific material, but do not worry if you do not have access to this, as this video will still cover the concepts in full. Okay, so we have 2 brackets 3x plus 1 plus 4 brackets x minus 1 is equal to 3, and we need to solve for x. Okay, in order to do this, we need to expand the brackets and simplify to the point where we can have x on its own. So let's start by expanding the brackets. So 2 multiplied by 3x is 6x. 2 multiplied by 1 is plus 2. And then we have plus 4 multiplied by x, which is plus 4x. And then we have plus 4 multiplied by minus 1, which is minus 4. And this is equal to 3. Okay? Now we can simplify this even further because we have like terms. We have 6x and 4x, which simplifies to 6x plus 4x, which is 10x. We have plus 2 and minus 4. 2 minus 4 gives us minus 2. And on the right-hand side, we have 3. Okay? So when solving for x, we need to ask ourselves, what is stopping the x from being on its own? Hopefully you can see that it's the minus 2 and the multiplied by 10 that are both stopping the x from being on its own. Now, step by step, we need to eliminate both of these in order to get x on its own. So let's start with the minus 2. In order to eliminate something, we need to do the opposite. The opposite of minus 2 is plus 2. So we add 2, and we do this on both sides of the equation. So we always do the same thing to both sides of the equation. This leaves us with 10x minus 2 plus 2 is equal to 3 plus 2. On the left-hand side, the minus 2 and plus 2 cancel out, leaving us with 10x. And on the right-hand side, we have 3 plus 2, which is 5. Okay? Now, the last thing we need to do is eliminate the multiplied by 10 in order to get x on its own. And we need to do the opposite. So the opposite of multiply by 10 is divide by 10. And we do this on both sides. This leaves us with 10x over 10 is equal to 5 over 10. The 10 and the 10 cancel out, leaving us with x. And then we have x is equal to 5 over 10. This can be simplified if we divide both sides by 5. So x is equal to 1 over 2, and that's your answer. Okay? So pause this video and try this question on your own again, and make sure that the answer is correct. If it's not correct, then look through my method again to see where you went wrong. Question 4. The first part, we need to factorize the expression x squared minus 3x minus 28. Okay. So the first thing to do is to multiply the coefficient of x squared, which is 1, by the last number. So 1 multiplied by minus 28 is minus 28. Now we need 2 numbers that multiply to give us minus 28 and add to give us minus 3. So let's first start off by listing the pairs that multiply to give us minus 28. So we have 7 and minus 4. We have 4 and minus 7. We have 14 and minus 2. And we have 2 and minus 14. Hopefully you can see that the only pair that can add to give us minus 3 is the second pair, 4 minus 7. 4 minus 7 gives us minus 3. So we have found our pair. Okay, so the next step is to replace the coefficient of x. So we need to replace minus 3x with our pair. So we are not changing the value, we are simply changing the way our equation looks. So we need to rewrite this as x squared and then replace minus 3x with these two. So we get plus 4x minus 7x minus 28. Okay? So again, 4x minus 7x is the same thing as 3x. So we have not changed anything, we have just changed the way that this equation looks. Now we need to separate these and factorize separately. So let's start by factorizing the left-hand side. X squared plus 4x. The only thing that is common in both terms is x, so we can take the x out. Now, in order to get x squared, we need to multiply x by x, and then in order to get 4x, we need to multiply x by 4, and that gives us 4x. On the right-hand side, the only thing that's common is minus 7. X is not common in both, so we cannot take the x out. What do we need to multiply minus 7 by in order to get minus 7x? Hopefully you will agree that we need to multiply minus 7 by x, and then we need to multiply minus 7 by 4 in order to get minus 28. Okay, so because our brackets both contain the same terms, this means that we have done something correct and we can proceed. If the brackets are different, this means that you have made a mistake in your calculations and you need to go back. We have now factorized our equation. The first bracket is x plus 4, and the second bracket is what's on the outside, which is x minus 7. Okay, and that's your answer for 3 marks. Part II, now we need to solve this equation. Okay, so this is useful because in order to solve an equation, we need to factorize first, but we have already done this in the first part. So we can rewrite this using our factorized expression. So x plus 4, x minus 7 is equal to 0. We now need to solve, and we can do this separately. So x plus 4 is equal to 0, and x minus 7 is equal to 0. We need x on its own for both equations. On the left-hand side, we can minus 4 on both sides, leaving us with x plus 4 minus 4 is equal to minus 4. The plus 4 and minus 4 cancel out, so x is equal to minus 4. The right equation, we can add 7 on both sides to make x on its own, leaving us with x minus 7 plus 7 is equal to 7. The minus 7 and plus 7 cancel out, leaving us with x, which is equal to 7. So we have now solved our equation, okay? So hopefully that was quite straightforward. Try this question on your own again after pausing the video and see if you get the same answer. Question 7, we have been given an algebraic sum that we need to solve and simplify. So 3 over a minus h over c. Now with algebraic fractions, what we need to do is multiply both denominators to get our desired denominator, which is ac. So we now need to convert both of these fractions into fractions with the denominator ac. So what we can do is multiply the first fraction, a by c, in order to get ac, and in fractions, whatever we do to the top, we have to do to the bottom and vice versa. This leaves us with 3 multiplied by c, which is c, over ac, and then we have minus. For the second fraction, we can multiply c by a and do the same at the top, leaving us with HA over CA. We can now combine this into 3C minus HA all over AC. Now, because there are no like terms, this is the furthest we can go, so this is your final answer. Okay, so quite straightforward. Have a go on it. Have a go on your own again and see if you get the same answer. So question 9, we have 1 over g minus 1 over k is equal to m. Now, the first thing we need to do is actually bring the k to the top, because this is what we're making this the subject. So whatever we're rearranging for, it has to be at the top and cannot be a numerator. So right now we are dividing by k. In order to bring this to the top, we need to do the opposite, which is multiplied by k. And we do this on both sides. This leaves us with 1 over g multiplied by k minus 1 over k multiplied by k is equal to m multiplied by k. Okay, so to simplify this, k multiplied by 1 is k. Over g minus 1 multiplied by k, which is k, is equal to mk. Now the k over k simplifies into 1, because something divided by itself is just 1, leaving us with k over j minus 1 is equal to mk. Now, the next step is to get everything that contains the k on one side of the equation and everything that doesn't on the other side of the equation. So let's start by moving the minus 1 onto the right-hand side. In order to do this, we add 1 on both sides, leaving us with k over g minus 1 plus 1 is equal to mk plus 1. The minus 1 and plus 1 cancel out, leaving us with k over g, which is equal to mk plus 1. Now let's move the mk onto the left-hand side, and we can do this by taking mk away from both sides. This leaves us with k over g minus mk is equal to mk plus 1 minus mk. The mk and the minus mk cancel out, which just leaves us with k over g minus mk is equal to 1. Okay? So the minus mk is the same thing as minus mk over 1. We now need to simplify the left-hand side. What we can do is multiply this by g and this by g in order to get the same denominator. This will leave us with k over g minus mkg over g is equal to 1. Okay? So k minus mkg over g is equal to 1. Now we need to think what's stopping the k from being on its own. Hopefully you can see that this is quite a big factor. So we need to get rid of this fraction. Right now we are dividing by g, so we need to multiply both sides by g in order to get rid of this. This leaves us with k minus mkg over g multiplied by g is equal to 1 multiplied by g, which is g. Now on the left-hand side, the multiply by g and divide by g cancel out, leaving us with k minus mkg is equal to 1. And now that we've got everything with the k on one side of the equation, we can factorize the k out, leaving us with 1 minus mk in the brackets is equal to 1. Now, hopefully you can see that the last thing stopping the k from being on its own is this bracket here, 1 minus mk. So we can divide both sides by 1 minus mk. Okay? This leaves us with k multiplied by 1 minus mk over 1 minus mk is equal to 1 over 1 minus mk. 1 minus mk cancels out on the left-hand side, leaving us with k is equal to 1 over 1 minus mk, and that's your answer. Okay? So hopefully that did make sense. Pause this video and try it again on your own and see if you get the same answer. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, practice makes perfect. Never give up. I will see you in the next tutorial.